Well, ladies and gentlemen, quick survey. Who feels that their organization is future-proof today? Does anyone here feel like their organization is future-proof? Well, there's a couple up the back, but I can assure you this next session is certainly for you with that in mind. Our next speaker today has spent more than 25 years driving procurement transformation in huge multinational organizations, from the likes of British Aerospace and BAE Systems to Balfour Beatty, Baker Hughes, and many more. Now, he's particularly passionate about unlocking innovation in the procurement sector, driving ESG, ethics, and professional standards globally, as well as nurturing tomorrow's talent. Today, he joins us to share his expert insights on how to future-proof your procurement organization, from being able to navigate the rapidly changing landscape of technology to completely redefining our approach to learning, relearning, and unlearning. Today, he's going to help us chart a path to success in the ever-changing world of procurement. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mark Hutchinson, the former Global Procurement Director of Baker Hughes.
Assalamu alaikum. Fellow procurement professionals, esteemed guests and speakers, I'm delighted to be joining you here today to share my thoughts on future-proofing our organizations, to ensure we have firm foundations in talent and technology, to ensure success both individually and organizationally. We talk a lot about future-proofing our supply chains through supplier diversity, supply chain risk and resilience, digital twin, demand forecasting. But how can we future-proof the procurement organization itself so we can thrive in an environment of constant change, increasing pace, complexity, digitization, and uncertainty, all of which provide immense opportunity and some threats which we should understand and consider. I started my last job in 2020 at the beginning of a global pandemic when almost the entire world was in lockdown. Onboarding was pretty easy, received my laptop, did some online training. I worked from home for about 15 months before I met any of my team, visited any suppliers. Despite that, managed to lead a procurement transformation, maybe not as fast as I'd hoped. We set up a joint venture with Aramco. In fact, my first contract I signed from my living room was the construction contract for a site in Sparks in Dammam. Set up a supply chain in different parts of the world, lots of this, all remote. Everything was remote. And I realized as I couldn't meet people, I'd have to invest some time. I probably spent 50 hours or so in my first couple of weeks on one-to-ones, team meetings, getting to know people. Didn't talk about business, didn't talk about procurement, just about people, getting to know them, understanding how they were and their interests and hobbies. Look, don't worry, I'm not here to talk about myself for 20 minutes. The point is that technology is a great enabler for people who can use it. That's a really simple example of Microsoft Teams and WhatsApp and things. But the same logic applies to artificial intelligence, whatever technology you're using within your organization. To be successful, we must possess the relevant skills and competence and the ability to exploit technology opportunities and understand the risks. You know, we all know the risks of leaving a camera on your laptop or forgetting to press a mute button, but do we really understand the risks from all of the technology and the pace of change we have today? First point, embracing digital transformation. I won't be the only one here today talking about technology and Gen AI. It's not new. We've been developing digitally for 50 years, even though the phrase digital transformation is only 10 or 11 years old. Intel developed the first microchip in the 70s before I was born. In our function, MRP2 is 40 years old, ERP 30 years old, e-procurement 20. Even blockchain has been going over 10 years. And we've all managed that successfully to various degrees. However, we are living in a truly unprecedented pace of change. And the technology evolution, if you look at any chart on technology, you'll see the change is exponential. Computing power, data storage, network speed, machine learning, it is exponential. Think of category strategies. Not long ago, it would take an experienced procurement professional a couple of weeks to do some research, analyze, assess, create a category strategy. We can do that in 20 minutes now. The technology is there to gather all the data and create a category strategy. The challenge is, how do we possess the people skills to challenge that category strategy can be implemented in practice? So advances in technology like Gen AI, predictive analytics, quantum computing, it really is redefining procurement as we know it, not in the future, right now. Fantastic tools to streamline our processes, help us gain deeper insights, faster analytics, automate routine tasks, helps us interpret and validate the data, and help us implement negotiation strategies. We just need to make sure that we possess the relevant skills and competence within ourselves and within our teams to exploit the technology. One thing is very clear: individuals and organizations that will thrive in the future are those that can adapt, innovate, and understand those core people and business skills required to capitalize on the technology. And of course, technology is not just about transformation is not just about technology and processes. It's about the people. And it's about the mindset. It's about cultivating a culture of change, learning and innovation where experimentation is encouraged and failure is seen as a catalyst to success. As procurement professionals, we need to actively shape change, not just adapt or respond to it. Our next generation of procurement leaders, Gen Z or Z if you're schooled in the US, born 1997 to 2012, they have a very different set of expectations and learning styles shaped by a lifetime of digital connectivity. And to attract and retain this talented cohort, organizations must create an environment that fosters innovation, collaboration, continuous learning. Gen Z expects transparency, values sustainability, and demands a purpose-driven work experience. Digital natives who expect intuitive technology and seamless integration. So procurement organizations that can adapt to these expectations and harness this energy and fresh perspectives will be better equipped to future-proof themselves. A growth mindset, important to us all. We must constantly challenge and develop ourselves personally, whether you're early careers, mid-career, or an established leader. You need to take responsibility and accountability for remaining up-to-date and relevant. But as a leader, you're also responsible for cultivating the culture, creating the time, the budget, the expectation, and support. And in some cases, we need incentives required to ensure your teams recognize and value the need to understand and embrace all the available technology relevant to your organization and priorities. Continuous personal and professional development is part of the day job. It's not extracurricular. And it doesn't stop when you reach a certain age, or a grade, or a job title. And being very honest, leadership responsibilities, as they broaden, it can get increasingly difficult to learn and stay on top of all of the new developments. And you do need to rely on the team for the domain expertise, but we must maintain an understanding and an awareness of all the opportunities and all the threats relevant to your role and to your organization. I'm lucky. I've always enjoyed learning, driving new ways of doing things. It must be in my DNA. Not everybody's the same. Some of it could be labeled a generational thing or simply personality types. But the reality is, we need to be open to lifelong learning, regardless of your career status. procurement professionals must be agile and adaptable, ready to embrace new ways of doing things and willing to unlearn old practices. Technology is moving at such a pace, we need to forget what we learned at university 10, 20 years ago, or the course we did 3 years ago, because we need to create the space in our brains to learn new things and adapt. The point is, those of us who choose not to, I just don't think it's going to end well for them. People capability. It's really important to understand your current skills, knowledge, and competence individually and organizationally. This will help you focus on any deficiencies, any gaps, and develop plans, be that a personal development plan or a functional capability transformation plan. There are several organizations out there who do it, some better than others. SIPS has a pretty good tool for members and individuals and organizations. I'm not here as a SIPS salesman, but in a professional capacity, I did pay for a capability assessment in my last job so that I could really understand the gaps and what I needed to build the capability for the future. And I found it very useful in developing my people strategy for transformation. Tacit knowledge, that stuff between our ears, the secret sauce, the magic dust, the stuff that we don't know we know. I think that's really underestimated in organizations. There are many who have knowledge portals or knowledge capture programs, but from a personal perspective, I've never seen it be truly effective. This knowledge which has been acquired often over time, not necessarily through training courses, but on-the-job learning and experience, we need to be able to harness that. If we're going to get the marriage of technology and talent, and those in their early years careers need to get as much business experience as quick as possible, and then those who are mid-careers need to be embracing technology, we need to get that intergenerational collaboration. Clearly, tacit knowledge will evolve over time, and in some cases will become redundant very quick, so we need to keep it valid and forward-thinking. In terms of technology, we all think we're experts. We all think we're tax-savvy. We all have smartphones. You know, we think we know how to use a VPN, and we use our tablet for online shopping and banking and communication and ordering a pizza or an Uber. Nobody puts proficient in Microsoft Office on their CVs because everybody does it. However, there is a reality that every generation is adapting and learning faster and faster, with increasing appetite for bite-sized learning and learning on demand. It's a good thing, but it does risk some in the older generations with valuable workplace skills having to significantly shift their learning paradigm to learn fast and often, and even unlearn those established practices I mentioned before. So procurement organizations must invest in training and development to ensure that our teams have the skills to adapt to new ways of working and foster a mindset of continuous learning where staying up to date with the latest technology is a priority. I was really impressed with the Singapore government levelling up agenda. They went live last week with a new set of bursaries and financial incentives for Singaporeans aged over 40 years old to retrain and develop new skills, including AI and automation. And the logic being that they recognize the potential skills and knowledge redundancy from early Gen Y or millennials or older, and they want to develop the digital workforce of the future. They also recognize that the value of having multi-generational cohorts where life and business skills and knowledge can be shared with mid to late careers. And in the early careers, the digital generation can be sharing their experiences, a bit like in an MBA cohort. And we all know that the best teams are diverse, I don't mean just the HR KPIs of diversity and inclusion. I mean, true diversity of thought, of knowledge, of experience. And we need to foster these environments to bridge some of the generational divide and help each other to learn from one another. So it doesn't always come naturally, especially, I think, for those digital generations who've spent a lifetime in virtual relationships. So some of the softer skills in terms of relationship management, building rapport, trust, and just being in a room like this face-to-face means different things to different people. I'd like, if I may, to ask you to raise your hands if anybody in the room is a mentor. Do you share your knowledge and experience with anybody else in your network? That's quite a lot. 40, 50%, I would say. Okay. And would you please raise your hand if you're a mentee? So you receive wisdom and experience. Okay. A few less, I would say. A few less. Okay. And last one for hands in the air is raise your hand if you do reverse mentoring. So either your mentor seeks your guidance and support, or your mentor is a younger generation than you. Good. Still a lot less, I would say about 10, 15% of the room there. My view is we don't do enough of it. In this world of accelerated pace, reverse mentoring can be really powerful in facilitating this knowledge sharing in both directions, fostering that mutual growth and trust and helping innovation. So my message is simply, get personally involved as both mentor and mentee. Encourage this shared learning within your sphere of influence. And if you're a people leader, you could consider buddying up or pairing with team in different generations and different skill set rather than any formal mentoring. Just because you've worked for 10 years or 20 or 30 doesn't mean you've got all the answers. I certainly don't. Last one from me. And this is a huge topic, so I'm going to keep it very short and simple. I'm not a futurist, but I do predict that technology will continue to outpace regulations, guidance, training, maybe legislation. And hopefully some of the technology can help the pace of organizations and governments with their decision making and getting some structure around it. But until that point, we need to educate ourselves and teams around the appropriate use of the digital journey ahead. It's a minefield, I think. If you look at some of the Gen AI tools like ChatGPT, and there are lots of them out there, great assets, absolute enablers for us in our day jobs and society. But just remember, if you're hosting any tool outside of your firewall, it might be a paid subscription, but regardless, it's not a secure environment. And I think what we don't fully appreciate, and I'm sure there'll be other speakers today covering this, is what's happening to the information that we're sharing. And we're all eager to learn, and we're all eager to make use of it. So I would use the analogy of being in a tent with the light on at night, and you're having a very sensitive conversation, or even an argument. It might feel like you're in a safe environment, and very private until everybody outside hears what you're talking about. So I think we just need to be sensible about the information we're using. It's a great tool, but I suspect somebody somewhere unwittingly will share some sensitive content from an RFQ or a bill of material or a statement of work, and you would normally have under NDA. And once it's gone into the machine learning, and somebody be working hard one night on their laptop in their office. But Gen AI has no NDA. There is no recall button. So we really need to think through what it is we're putting in there. Lots of the content will help the machine learning and will ultimately help us. But we just need to make sure we're fully aware. There's lots of online training. In fact, I saw someone on LinkedIn and posted something the other day. There's lots and lots. OpenAI, Google are sharing training on ethics of of the technology, but I think it's incumbent upon all of us as part of our personal development to take 30 minutes, take 60 minutes, and just make sure we understand and can support our teams. My other thoughts on ethics and integrity, but in the space of AI as well, is what do you do if your AI experience provides you with some sensitive commercial or technical information from a customer or a competitor? Somebody who's been on the other end and unwittingly overshared, and that's now in your hands. How do you deal with that? Legally, morally, ethically? Some say it'll never happen, but I'm not going to bet my house on it never happening. And I'm not picking on Gen AI. It's no different to using Google Translate. You know, lots of people use Google Translate. It's fine putting in a certain clause, but you don't put your whole contract into there. So 90% of the time, it will be absolutely fine. But there are some unintentional organizational risks. My point is, technology is an asset, an enabler for our day jobs, but we just need to be very clear on the rules of the game. So on that note, I will wrap up, stop talking. Hopefully we might have time for a question or two. So let's embrace the opportunities ahead. Equip our organizations to be the leaders, the innovators, the problem solvers, and our rapidly changing world demands. And by investing in digital transformation, creating a culture of continuous improvement and learning, focusing on talent development, and fostering this intergenerational collaboration, and prioritizing ethics and integrity, we can create the foundations procurement organizations require to be truly future-proof. Thank you for listening. Shukran. I don't know how we offer time. I tried to talk as fast as possible to leave room for questions.
Let's see if we can do one question. And if I can ask, when people are sending questions through, if there are specific presenters you would like to ask for, please do share them with us as well.
It's okay if not, I'll escape.
We can ask one. We've got one here saying procurement transformation has multiple interdependence with other functions such as supply chain, operations, etc. What's your advice for convincing them to all get on board?
What, sorry?
Procurement transformation has multiple interdependence with other functions as well as supply chain and operations. How do you get everyone to buy in? How do you get them all on board together?
Yeah. You can never be successful in isolation, within your team. To be, of the procurement transformations I've led, you've got to understand your key stakeholders. And it's not just the supply chain stakeholders, it's also finance, HR. I guess step one is making sure you understand what good looks like organizationally and set the tone top down. But having those cross-functional engagements, and most, even within a procurement team, most success requires engagement with engineering or quality or finance or manufacturing. So I think, again, getting back to people, you need a clear structure and a plan, but engaging with the right people and understanding what good looks like for them is, in my opinion, the key to being successful with a procurement transformation. Is that short enough? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.